What's up, fellow cartographers? It's Josh with Map Effects, and today I want to walk you through how to draw a more classic style fantasy mountain like you would see on a map of the Lord of the Rings or something similar, as well as my own kind of unique twist on it so that hopefully it'll inspire you to experiment and try something new. So let's start mapping. First, let's start off by looking at this style of mountain here, and it's kind of your basic triangular shape. It's all right if your line is a little bit rough. And let's add one more mountain in here, just to make it a little bit more interesting. So that's kind of your basic shape. And the distinguishing feature about this style of mountain is the large black shading section that's used on the side. So in order to do that, I like to start at the peak here. And you just kind of want to scrub the brush back and forth and come down the side of the mountain until you get roughly to the base of it. And then you can kind of come over here and do that again. And then you can come through and just fill this section in with color. And you don't want to make your lines too perfect here. You still want to kind of get that more hand-drawn look. And if you make this too clean, it'll end up looking a bit too much like a logo, and it won't look right. So we can kind of come back over here and do that for this mountain as well. Just fill this all in. And that's just the basic idea. So it's a basic triangle shape. And then you fill in most of the mountain with black, and you kind of end up with this little sharp highlight right here on the side of the mountain. So now let's look at my interpretation of this style. Here, let's move this out of the way so we have a little bit more room. Okay, so the first thing that you'll notice is when you draw the initial shape, it's a little bit more of a vertical shape. And with a lot of these, it's actually a little bit more rounded on the top as well. But the main thing is that it's a little bit taller, so you're exaggerating the height of the mountains. So let's draw a second one in right next to it. And actually, I made that one a little bit more pointed than I would like, so I'm going to undo that. Try that again. Something like that. And let's throw one here in the front. A couple of hills. Something like that. So the first thing that you want to do is you're actually going to draw a ridge line. So again, we're going to start at the top of the mountain, and you can use kind of a sweeping broken line and taper it down until you can intersect with the mountain in front of it. Or since this mountain is technically in front of this one, what I'm going to do here is I'll sweep this down and intersect it with the base of that. So then it feels like they're all kind of connected in a continual ridge line. And we'll take this one here, kind of do that for it. And then the next thing that you're going to do is we're going to add a little bit of this hatching shading. And to do that, you just want to start at the top of the mountain, and you're just going to draw individual lines all the way down. And don't be too worried about making these perfect. Part of the charm of this more hand-drawn style is the subtle imperfections that you get. If you're too clean, it'll actually end up looking kind of digital and fake. So don't worry about it too much, but just fill that all in. We're going to do that again for this one. Trying to work quickly here for you. And the one in the front. Okay, so that's our basic shading on these. Now the next thing that you actually want to do is you'll notice on these, it's darker on the peaks of the mountains, and that's because I came back and did a second pass to darken up the very the very top of the mountain and areas right by these ridges, because as the light would be hitting them, this area would be darkest because it wouldn't be getting as much ambient light. And adding some darker shadows near the peaks of the mountains just adds a lot of depth to your map. Okay, and you can just kind of see I'm just kind of blending it down. I'm not being too exact with my hatching lines. Come to this one and do the same thing here. Okay, something like that. And we need to add some hatching lines on these hills too. So with these, just add some lines just down the side. You don't want the shading to be as dramatic on the hills because it should be a little bit more subtle to give the impression of them having a more rounded shape. But you can still add some lines down here. And the next thing that you want to do is you can kind of see how I've tapered this into the landscape a little bit more. So just use some dots and dashes and broken lines at the base of these hills and the mountains to kind of just blend it more into the surrounding terrain. And you can actually do that a bit with the hatching lines too. Just add some dashes at the base of these, and that will help it feel like it's kind of blending more into the terrain instead of having such a harsh line like the more classic style has. And the last thing that you want to do is you'll notice I have a little bit of detail on the side of the mountain that would be getting hit by the light, and it just helps give it a little bit more personality. So to do that, you just want to kind of look for places where the mountain juts out like this. And just under it, I'm going to just add a couple of hatching lines just like that. Couple there, couple there, and we'll add some there. And that's pretty much all there is to it. So the main thing is the mountains are a little bit taller to help exaggerate their height. And I used more hatching lines on the sides and put a little bit of detail on the side that's in the light to just give it a little bit of texture and personality. I hope you found that helpful, and I look forward to seeing your map.